Jesus the Christ, when we celebrate his birth on this holy night. Amen. But Mary treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart. This treasuring and pondering of Mary is often displayed in the many different nativity scenes that we see in churches, in our homes, set out in our front yards, and anywhere else a nativity may be present this time of year. Yet this pondering is not simply for a display of reverence. The original Greek words that Luke chose to use for treasured and pondered means that not only did Mary experience the good news that the angels brought to humankind on this holy night, but that she fully understood what it meant. In other words, Mary did know, as the popular Christmas song, Mary Did You Know asks. Mary did know that her baby boy is the great I Am, that he is the man who walks on water, and that when she kisses her little baby, she is kissing the face of God. But do we fully understand this good news of God becoming human flesh? The good news of a Savior born to us? Have we experienced such an amazing gift that we can, like Mary, fully comprehend its meaning? Or do we question whether or not this whole thing is an idle tale? After all, if Jesus really came to save the world, then why is it still broken? Why are we still so broken? We may hide at this time of year under the guise of Yuletide cheers, brightly colored decorations, and busying ourselves with Christmas preparations. But deep down we know that we cannot fool ourselves. We still feel the pain of loss, of broken family relationships, of some kind of betrayal, or of terminal disease. Isn't the joy of Christ's birth supposed to take away all of those nasty feelings? If it doesn't, did it really happen? Is Christ really the Savior of the world? Sometimes we often forget on this sacred night, mostly because we love the idea of a peaceful manger scene, where the animals are all quietly sleeping. Baby Jesus isn't making a peep while lying in the manger. It is a clear and starry night, and you could never tell that Mary just went through labor for the first time in her life. Sometimes we forget on this sacred night that the birth of Jesus was messy and painful. Anyone who has experienced childbirth or watched their loved one experience childbirth knows that it is a very painful experience. And when there is already that amount of chaotic sounds reverberating through the air, there is no way that didn't startle the animals into a mad frenzy themselves. Anyone who has ever experienced a newborn baby knows that they are far from quiet and still. Plus the birth, it happened in a manger, a dirty stable for animals. It was messy. And after experiencing all that pain and anguish, all that messiness, when the Christ child finally arrived and was placed in Mary's arms, she experienced a love so great that she was able to fully understand the magnitude of the angel's message to the shepherds, who then relayed that message to her. This is how God works. There is no grandiose birth. There is no grandiose means of salvation. Christ was born in a barn and dies on a cross. Salvation comes through the pain and messiness of life. It comes through labor pains and death. But believe it or not, it is during those painful times in life, it is during those messy times that God's love becomes so clear to us that we fully understand the magnitude of God choosing to become human on this holy night. When my mother died this past January, I was in a very dark and painful place. And yet during this dark time, I was surrounded by the immense love of God through the care of my faith community here at St. Andrew and my family. They prayed for me. They supported me with cards, meals, and hugs. They encouraged me through sharing their own experience of losing a parent to death and letting me know that the grief does not last forever. Now at that time, it just seemed like gestures of kindness. But the more I reflected on it, the more I realized that it was the love of God. The love of God working in and through these people to touch my heart. To let me know that God was right there with me, crying when I cried, laughing when I laughed, and embracing me when I had no strength left to stand on my own. This is the gift of Christ's birth that we celebrate tonight. It is a gift that reminds us that we will see and experience the love of God during joyous times, but also very much during the painful times in our lives. It is the promise that God suffers as we suffer and cares so much for us that God even took on ultimate suffering in order to free us from the hopelessness of death. It is the promise that God's love will always guide us through the pain and back into that which is life-giving. This means that we can indeed celebrate tonight with all the joy that comes along with it. For there is no greater gift than God becoming flesh and dwelling among us. And we can celebrate because this gift means everlasting love is present in both our joy and our pain. And we can celebrate because we can, like Mary, treasure these things and ponder them in our hearts, knowing that God loves us that much, to become human, to suffer with us, to die for us, and to love us forever.